If George W. Bush were ever to leave Laura, what might he say to her?
Tell you what, I think I put you through enough.
So let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David,
People going through divorces are going through some of the hardest times of their lives, and a lot of what they're going through is emotional. And in any divorce, there's a huge sense of loss, and loss of relationship, of money, some friends.
Hi, I'm David Glass, and today on the Hourglass podcast, we have Jim Meskimen. Now, Jim is an actor who is as versatile as they come. He's played dramatic roles, comedic roles, and everything in between. His character performances include dramatic roles in the film Hunter with Al Pacino and playing opposite Sean Penn and Julia Roberts in Gaslit. He's worked with Ron Howard multiple times, appearing in The Paper, Apollo 13, and Ed TV. But that's not all. He has a comedic side, in which his performances are just as strong. Many people remember Jim as a regular player in the British version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? He also designed the characters in the Thundercats series. But wait, there's more. He's a stage performer, a professional animator, and an artist whose work is exhibited and sold around the world. He's currently working on a comedic series, The Big Door Prize, created by the people behind Schitt's Creek. And he's a very impressive impressionist. I'm going to see if he'll do a couple of his celebrity impressions for us today. Jim Meskimen can talk about anything when it comes to TV, films, and stage. But what we most want to ask Jim today are questions about humor and how it affects the human spirit. I understand that you started in the visual arts, the cartooning, illustrating art in college, and later on turned to acting.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you think starting in the visual arts leading to later being an actor had for you, if any?
Well, it certainly forestalled my acting career. From a planning point of view, it's probably not the smartest thing to do. But I know of many artists that professionals that follow whatever they follow, and that's sort of the strength of what they have to offer. I early on, I really was interested visually, and I'm still very interested in visual art, and I still create art. And these days, with the way that the acting business is going, it almost seems like, well, maybe it's time to really sort of hunker down and do some more visual art. I just get a lot of pleasure from it, and I actually trained very extensively. I studied in Spain. I studied all through college. I studied, and just because I love it, just in the same way that I dabbled around and doodled around with voices and comedy and things like that. I also have maintained that with my visual art to a great degree. So I think that it's all the same impetus. It's the same kind of impulse. You're interested in seeing something and interpreting it or using what you experience to create something. And I don't know, to me, it's all the same. I know many, I'm sure you do too, many artists, actors, musicians who are also have another discipline that they also do pretty good, and they could have gone down that path, but they went, well, I decided to pick up the saxophone and put down the paints, whatever. It's all part of being alive and having an impulse to create.
Yeah. I interviewed a long time ago two artists, famous backup artists, touring artists, and I was asking them what's the difference between a touring artist and someone who records. And they said, there's no difference. You're a musician. I play music. It's whether I'm playing with this guy's band, I'm writing my own music, I'm playing it on my couch, I'm a musician.
That's right. They're just using a lot more hotel soap.
Right. And a similar answer to you. And I read somewhere that, and I wasn't able to find any other backup for it. I read somewhere that it was an interaction with Harvey Keitel that convinced you to try acting. So first of all, is that a true statement? And then what kind of interaction did you have with Harvey Keitel?
That was a true story, and I ran into him in Madrid, Spain. Acts completely accidentally, and it was an epiphanous moment for me. I think that's a word, because I had been struggling in my 20s to kind of sort out what do I want to do and what should I concentrate on. And I'd just seen Mean Streets playing in a revival house, and this all sounds so exotic. I'd been in Amsterdam. I saw main streets there of all places. And then I went back to Madrid where I was living at the time studying art, and I ran into Harvey Keitel on the street, and I stopped him and talked to him, and I realized that that was such an electrifying experience just to speak to him,
Yeah.
that like, oh, that I took as a kind of a sign, or a, I don't know, the penny just sort of dropped, and I went, this stuff really excites me.
Right.
I think I'm gonna, because I've been doing plays, but
Mhm.
very kind of just keeping a toe in to the
Yeah.
acting world. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to move to New York. And within a couple months, I'd moved to New York and started the long, kind of process of getting an agent and getting auditions and getting work.
Sure, sure. I and my father went to high school with Harvey Keitel, and
No kidding.
yeah, Harvey Keitel's in his wedding album
Oh
as
my
one of the
God.
groomsmen. It just so anytime he comes up, I get excited. We always ran out to see all his movies, even before I was old enough to really be in his movies.
Well, he's gone on to become, continues to be an important actor. I don't know how much acting he's doing right now. He's probably in his 80s or something, but
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
in
And
those
like
Wes
yeah, my
Anderson
father's
films.
84.
I keep hoping I'll run into him somewhere and thank him.
Hmm.
I won't mean too much. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can thank Harvey Keitel for inspiring them, but it was just deeply like a personal moment in my life that I could point to and go, it was that afternoon that I finally solved the problem of where should I, what should I decide? What
Sure.
should I choose? It's like, one of those paths in life. So like, that was it.
Sure, and I've heard that similar stories from I've interviewed comedians and filmmakers and all sorts of people, and the thing they had in common, in addition to having these sort of stories, was being open to being inspired by meeting people. A lot of people meet Harvey Keitel and continue walking down. I'll never be as good as him.
Yeah.
It's I found it's the openness to getting inspiration from places is that differentiates some artists.
Yeah. 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 Well, I'll always be grateful for that moment. And I'm grateful that I was alert enough to notice what had happened.
Right, right. Do you have any preference between dramatic or comedic roles?
Comedic roles today mean something a little bit different than they used to mean to me, I guess. Because like a television comedy, uh, they're often comedies, they're not terribly funny.
Right.
Uh, dramatic roles, on the other hand, often have a lot of humor in them. So
Mhm.
the better written dramatic roles also convey a bit of, or are an opportunity to convey a bit of humor. So
Sure.
lately, I'm much more sort of, I don't know, satisfied, I think, by doing a well-rounded character that has both dramatic and comedic elements in it, rather than just being a silly guy who, says something goofy and everybody laughs. I've done a hell of a lot of that.
Right.
and,
Sure.
and that's all great, and I'll in my own life I do it all the time. But like recently, I got a job, a wonderful part I played in a film called Hungry, that's going to hopefully come out later this year or early next year, and that is a dramatic survival kind of thriller, about people who get into deep trouble on a little vacation trip, and that had mostly physical dramatic kind of notes to it, but I found ways to massage things into having a little bit of humor, and the director was all about let me do that. So that was
Right.
really, really super satisfying. And the movies that I really enjoy have those elements.
Hmm. And do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite role that you've played in drama, and maybe a favorite in a more comedic role?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was in Apollo 13, and
Hmm.
that's a great movie that has continued to show that it is a great
Yeah.
movie. It's a great story. I don't think it could be done any better by any other director
Mhm.
or any other cast. I flatter myself that I was part of a really, really great cast. I think we
Yeah.
won a SAG award as an ensemble. It was like the second of the SAG awards that were awarded. And when I see it on TV, I have to watch it and check it out. And
Sure.
the interesting thing about that movie is, which you probably know, is that you know, this is a movie that we all knew the ending of before we even went to see it.
Right. Right.
But you can sit in the theater, you can sit in front of your TV or your laptop and watch that movie, and it still is tremendously suspenseful.
Hmm.
Now, that's just skill. That's
Yeah.
just directing, editing skill.
Yeah.
So, and good writing too. As far as comedy, I did a series that very few people saw,
Mhm.
uh, but we did a whole season of it. It started off as a web series and it actually went to TV. And Rainn Wilson's company, Soul Pancake, at the time produced it, and Ben Shelton, the wonderful writer director, created it. And it was about impressionists, and it was called
Mhm.
Impress Me. And it ran on Pop TV, which is a very kind of kicked in the head little cable channel, and but it was
Right.
on TV, and it was funny, it was dramatic, it was kind of like what we're talking about. It was this kind of nice blend of serious, not terribly serious, not terribly grim, certainly not violent or anything like that. It wasn't Breaking Bad, but it had moments of seriousness and reality, and then stuff that was just funny and had to do with impressions and relationships and stuff. So an experience that, although it was not not a massive international hit or anything like that, it was so satisfying to do. It was really super fun, and someday I'm hoping it'll be available for people to see again because of some business problems with copyright or who owns it or where it all belongs. It's not able to be seen except on my secret Vimeo channel. So if anybody ever wants to see it, go to jimmeskimen.com and don't tell anybody. I can show it to you.
That's great. Now, I'm a former therapist and divorce lawyer, and this season I'm talking to people involved in comedy, either comedy, acting, writing, comedians, about what influence can humor have for a person who's trying to get through a breakup, breaking up from a relationship, getting a divorce, something like that.
Wow.
Uh, what do you think about the issue of
Well,
using humor to get through difficult
certainly not.
times?
I'm certainly a poor authority on that. I've been married now for 37 years.
Right.
But the thing about humor that I find very validating is that it is a rejection of circumstances.
Hmm.
So it is a rejection of information. It's a rejection of the situation. It is the really great comedians that we love take something that we see in the everyday world and they hold it up so that you can go, yeah, that is ridiculous.
Right.
Or they go, well, what if we took this a step further? How about that? And you go, yeah, yeah, that would be crazy. And we
Right.
laugh and we reject it that way and we feel better. There's a relief and a release that happens. And
Mhm.
so it's a very therapeutic thing. And humor, art, all those things are, you know, what would I don't know what to prescribe to someone who's going through a particular category of upset, like divorce or loss of somebody or something like that. But anything you can do that will allow you to uh, really to sort of disagree with the fact that you're very miserable or that life is not going to go on or you've hit the bottom, uh, because we're spiritual beings. We should be able to grow out of these things. We do eventually anyway, and there's this time factor involved or whatever, but we certainly don't want to mull things over and kind of stew around in our upsets. We want to, go watch a funny movie, go watch some kids play in a park or do something extroverting. Humor is very extroverting as well, right?
Yeah. So what you mentioned being married, was it 37 years? Did you,
It's 30, it'll be 38 years in May.
wow. So
Can't believe it.
if you don't mind me asking, how do you make a marriage work that long? I've been married for a fairly long time myself. It's and I had someone speak at my wedding saying that a long marriage is finding the right person and being the right person. It's a two-sided thing. But
Yeah.
in your marriage, what has made it work so well for so long?
Well, first of all, we established that we were on the same general trajectory, the same path. We wanted kids. We wanted acting careers. We wanted to live a satisfying, fun life. And we wanted to pursue things with honesty. And we share a religion. And we'd known each other in high school. We didn't go out, but
Right.
we knew each other. So we when we met up again in our early 20s, that kind of groundwork was already super solid. And then it was the life that we've built has been a life that we've built together. So we've conferred with one another about things. We've planned things. We've talked about our dreams and what we wanted to accomplish as a team and as individual artists and as individual people. And so that coordination, I don't, sometimes I'm sure you've met couples that don't do that. They just kind of,
Right.
well, I've got my thing and I go off, and or circumstances maybe that one, particularly like for artists or actors or something, one person's like a superstar and that other person's kind of like waiting at home and they're off in, Greenland shooting for months, and like that's tough.
Right.
We haven't had that degree of separation. And when we have, like when I recently did this movie I was telling you about, I had to go to Malta for 3 weeks.
Right.
I'd talk to her every night on the phone, and so we kept things going that way and always kept in good communication. So communication, real communication between people solves anything, the worst problems in the world. So certainly a marriage qualifies as being a potential worst problem in the world. So
Yeah.
by keeping that communication line open and keeping a lot on it, here's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? Where are you going? Where are you now? It doesn't have to be crazy, but that's the secret to me, is just being, and we enjoy being with one another. We make each other laugh. I mean, after 38 years, we have so many experiences that we've shared, and there's so many
Yeah.
little inside jokes and so many little things that the shorthand we can refer to. Now, I can tell you, having just walked in here from a meeting with my wife and my daughter, and we're trying to sort things out, the fires, other inconveniences, stuff where we have to make quick decisions. There's a stress and a strain that's put on a little bit on our relationship from that, just by virtue of the fact that we got to make quick decisions and all that's happening. But luckily, I know her well enough, and she knows me well enough. We can be patient with each other because we kind of know. I know, for example, she's a little better at planning than I am. So I'm going to listen to what she has to say, even though my impulse is to do something. All right, let me just calm down. So I've got a governor on my impulses, and hopefully she has one on hers, and patience on her side is super important. But she's a very patient person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, I mean, life puts all kinds of strains on it. So that's even more, you have to be more precise with your communication and
Mhm.
more frequent.
Yeah. And really knowing your partner and what their strengths and weaknesses, and what you have to do to change your natural impulse to react. That's maybe gonna, if you can let the other person have their period, their period of emotionality, their period of consideration, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna end up in the right place. It's just
100%.
the patience that you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. Got to be super empathetic and patient. Yeah. And keep in those basic agreements, those basic agreements in the wedding vow. And I mean, it's all there in the contract. Really.
Right. Right.
Just stick to that vow. You're in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any examples where you were going through a tough time, and you used humor specifically to help yourself break out of the bottom end of that experience?
Oh, sure, sure, sure. During the COVID days,
Mhm.
I think those were the most extensive, grim periods. That especially the first couple of years was just like upsetting, just upsetting
Mhm.
all the time. It was lots to be upset about, and so I always turned to creating stuff, and almost always with humor. I mean, the thing about impressions like Christopher Walken, for example, or also Patrick Stewart, or Robin Williams, the great Robin Williams, is that there's something funny about seeing a person change like that. It makes us smile, makes us,
Yeah. Yeah.
again, that rejection is easy to do. And so I started doing a lot of stuff on social media, and tons and tons of videos. And then it got into be this is a thing. This is a part of my routine, is to create humor on social media for people to laugh at. And I would get all these responses. People say, "You brighten my day. I love that. You're amazing. It's so funny. I laughed. I spread it around." That then you feel like, well, I'm actually providing something that people need and want, and that makes you feel better. So I guess that's why I keep returning to humor in the same way that, if I like today, we had to have the internet fixed because it broke in the wind, and the guy came, and I'm very happy to chat with people and to kind of share little things and make them feel better, because it makes them smile, makes them loosen up. They get their job done. They don't feel like everything's so serious. I think it's just part of the social lubrication that's
Mhm.
very natural for people. And the best people I know are also the funniest people I know. They're just they're very quick to deploy humor.
Yeah. And in fact, I mean, that social media, I remember, and I don't know whether it was back then or it's more recent, you had a wheel. You had a Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I do that every day.
Oh, is that right?
Celebrity fortune cookie. Celebrity
Yeah.
fortune cookie we've done every day for 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years.
Okay, great.
And my daughter and I do it together. And then lately we've been creating viral videos off. My daughter Taylor will come up and she's sort of in charge of producing all this stuff. And she'll just ambush me wherever I am and say, Dad, do Christopher Walken ordering a sandwich and he can't get the sauce he wants. So and I'll create that on the spot and do Joe Biden doing such and such, or do Patrick Stewart. How would Robin Williams do this? And I tell you, a bunch of those have had millions and millions of views, and it's like,
Yeah,
wow,
incredible.
okay, it's easy for us to do. It costs us nothing. And
Sure.
it makes people happy. It makes us no money, but that's fine too. We just, but like today, I went in. I had to go. A friend was having an operation in the hospital, so yesterday I go to security at early in the morning too. It was ungodly hour, 5:45, something like that. And I go to security, and the guy goes, "I know you from TikTok." I'm like,
Yeah.
so it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have some similar fun in that way. I'm going to ask you some divorce related questions.
Okay.
The first one is, what could Clark Gable have said to Scarlett O'Hara instead of, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn"?
Okay. Well, Scarlett, there you are on the stairway in that big poofy dress. The Civil War has just come to a dramatic and bloody end. And frankly, there are other fish in the sea.
Yeah, that could have worked.
Is there anyone alive that still recognizes what Clark Gable sounds like?
Yeah, well, they've seen that clip in any of
Dwindling. It's dwindling.
Yeah. And so if George W. Bush were ever to leave Laura, what might he say to her?
Tell you what, I think I put you through enough. I think you could find someone on either side of the aisle that'd be a better accommodator. Anyway, I want to thank you for all your support over the years. Now I think I gotta blow this pop town. Crawford's too big, too small for the two of us. You can't get fooled again.
That's great. What about if Humphrey Bogart chose another line in Casablanca as his send-off? What could he have said instead of "Here's looking at you, kid"?
He could say, when you and Victor Laszlo get off the plane in Morocco, wherever the hell you're going, just remember, baggage claim. Many bags look alike, kid.
Too much. Too much. Now, what about Christopher Walken just giving a parting shot during a romantic breakup?
You know, as as uh, as many people have noted, as trees can grow apart, and we have different reactions to the soil, the sunlight. You and I, you're on one side of the fence. I'm on another. I'm headed toward the open prairie, and you're headed toward the shed. So, bon voyage.
How about Morgan Freeman going through the same sort of breakup parting shot?
Well, I think Morgan Freeman has gone through this kind of breakup, actually. You could probably go on YouTube and find it, but he would probably be very philosophical and say that, you know, sometimes you try your best, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for both parties. The main thing is to keep it amicable and to maintain communication even when you're splitting up. Don't just talk through lawyers. That way madness goes.
Wow, the phrasing is just so on. How about Sam Elliott?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm not acquainted with Sam Elliott's marriage score, his roster. Seems like a big, handsome fellow like him might have had 2 or 3 wives, but maybe not. Maybe he's got faith on his side. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm sure he might be. He's also known for being just a tad philosophical too. Say that sometimes a man and a woman they see a future stretch out ahead, lengthy, all the way to the horizon. And then sooner or later, they may realize that horizon's moved a little closer. And it's just across the street. And it means you got to change your daily to-do list.
That's great. And wrapping up with someone you mentioned, Robin Williams, going through the same situation.
Oh boy, well, of course, Robin famously started going out with the babysitter, so I guess you have to follow your heart. But I think at the end of the day, if you accrue any wisdom at all after years and years of experiencing this kind of thing, this kind of relationship, this kind of crazy, mad, acrobatic stunt of being married, I think you have to realize that well, it's a whole family, isn't it? I mean, you're part of a team, and you want to keep the team together. And if you can't, well, there must be some reason for it. So that just takes a lot of conversation, a lot of deep conversations, and sometimes you have to look at yourself and say, "Oh, that was a mistake. Let me back up and put some more chalk on my hands and get back on the trapeze."
Excellent, excellent work. Any new projects that you're working on right now, in addition to the movie that you mentioned?
Yeah, Hungry, the movie will come out, and gosh, there's a David E. Kelly show that I'm supposed to do, but they haven't quite booked it yet. I have I did a live show, my live show, Jimpressions, in September at the Gary Marshall Theater for the celebrating really the 50th anniversary of Happy Days.
Right.
The video of that show will be out and available very soon, and people can find out about that at jimmeskimen.com. And do I have anything else coming out? I kind of lost track. I have my mind on household and family things,
Sure.
but
Sure.
it's going to be I think it's going to be a really great year. I have a lot of stuff planned, mostly in terms of creating more stuff for social media, a lot of stuff on Instagram, TikTok. If it survives, I'll be on there, and on a lot of live performing too. So, I'm a pretty easy guy to find and to keep in touch with. So.
Excellent. It's been wonderful talking to you, hearing your impressions, also hearing your perspective on life, especially your ideas about a long marriage. It's not everyone has that experience, and I think there are a lot of people out there who are going to be interested in that information in particular.
I hope so. I feel very lucky, actually, very lucky. She's quite a girl.
Wonderful talking to you today. I really appreciate
Thanks for your patience.
you jumping on the video today, and
Appreciate
we'll be in touch.
Thanks,
so
David.
much.
All right, be well. Stay safe.
Thanks so much for watching. Check back with us for another new episode, or visit thehourglasspodcast.com, where you'll find dozens of archived interviews, all of which are meant to help you. Thanks.